Welcome back. Malaysia's Madani Budget 2026 is out with promises of tighter fiscal discipline, smarter subsidies and a stronger push for private investment. But how far does it go in rebuilding market trust and confidence? Joining me now is Dr. Carmelo Ferlito, the CEO of the Centre for Market Education. Thanks, Doctor, for doing this.
Thanks for having me. Good afternoon.
Right, Dr. Carmelo, Budget 2026 has been described as a step toward greater fiscal discipline, with the government targeting a smaller deficit next year. From your perspective, how significant is this shift, and does it signal a credible move toward long-term fiscal responsibility?
Well, I think that this this emphasis on fiscal responsibility is probably at least in my perspective, the most important element present in the newly tabled budget. But at the same time, we have once again the biggest budget ever. And so I believe that if the targets of fiscal responsibility want to be achieved with the extent of this budget, a serious thought and a serious strategy needs to be implemented, taking a look at how money are actually spent.
Right. One of the headline measures this year was the continued shift from blanket subsidies to more targeted assistance. How do you view this reform? Does it help? Does it really help promote efficiency and accountability? Or, do you see risks in how it's going to be implemented?
Well, I think that, I've been a strong advocate in favor of a subsidy rationalization, and the way in which they will be implemented will really be pivotal to understand the effects. But I think that the importance of subsidy rationalization is not much on the issue of fiscal responsibility, but more on giving back to the market as much as possible the functioning of the price mechanism, because rational and effective and therefore sustainable economic decisions are made when prices are the clear response to market signals, so to the interplay between supply and demand.
Right. The government also highlighted stronger enforcement under the Fiscal Responsibility Act and plans to mobilize private capital through public-private partnerships. Now, do these initiatives genuinely enhance market confidence, or do you think they risk reinforcing government intervention in other forms?
Well, again, everything will have to be seen in the way in which the reform is actually implemented, but surely it is a move in the right direction. So investment projects which are implemented via PPP are surely potentially more efficient than those projects which are only responsive to political logic. So hopefully the opening to a certain market or logic within the implementation of the process the projects will help having better and more profitable projects.
Right, Dr. Carmelo, with total expenditure still quite high at 470 billion ringgit, some critics argue that Malaysia remains too dependent on public spending. In your view, how can the government balance the need for growth stimulus with the goal of reducing state dependence in the economy?
Well, indeed, this is the most contradictory element that we have seen from the budget speech. This call for fiscal responsibility on one side, and again, the size of the budget. On how to measure economic growth and sustain economic growth, I think that there is a certain degree of disagreement among economists, and I'm among who tend to believe that government spending is not the right way to promote economic growth, because government spending has temporary beneficial effects while creating long-term structural distortions, including potentially inflation and unemployment. So the more the government withdraw from the direct intervention in the economy, direct spending through investments, and open spaces for players coming from the market for the national development the highest the chance of success and long-term sustainable growth.
Right, Doctor. Now, SMEs continue to receive attention in the budget with many incentives and also funding support. What kind of policy approach do you think would be better to empower small businesses and at the same time without fostering this long-term reliance on state assistance?
This is a very crucial point and a point which is very, very dear to me because you see, SMEs, including also the micro businesses, represented the greatest amount of firms registered in Malaysia. We are talking about 96-97% of the total. And these firms produce less than 40% of the GDP. So I think that rather than focusing on injecting money on SMEs, and again, as you mentioned, to create long-term dependence on government spending, we should create fiscal incentives that allow these firms to get together and grow, so that being able to be more aggressive also in international markets and be more productive, having larger access to technology thanks to improved economies of scale, which is the biggest dark spot now on the economic structure of our small and medium enterprises.
Right, Doctor. Finally, since public sentiment and investor trust are often shaped by perceptions of credibility and discipline, do you believe this budget has strengthened market confidence, or is trust still conditional on deeper structural reform ahead?
I think it's a mix of both. So it is a step in the right direction, but let's not forget that beyond Malaysia's budget, we are living a moment of global uncertainty, which is always the biggest enemy for investors beyond whatever other measure can be implemented. So I think political stability will be very much important moving forward, and in the direction of the things that do not happen with the budget, but which are the result of more structural reforms. So solving those structural issues like labor issues, labor regulations, access to finance, these are those elements, those points in which the government needs to think for future action and increase the degree of credibility toward investors. But surely we have seen a lot of good and positive things in the latest budget.
Right, Dr. Carmelo, thank you so much for all of your valuable insights. We'll be back with more global updates in just a moment. This is The World on Bernama TV. Stay tuned.